Pony Musescript here, and today I'm doing a special video to celebrate 6,000 subscribers! Thanks to everyone who got me successfully to this goal. So you're probably wondering what I've got planned this time. I was thinking of doing a little appreciation of my own. As you know, the new MLP G5 movie has newly been released on Netflix, and if you haven't seen it, please do. It's definitely worth the watch. Trust me. Anyways, to fit the theme of 6 for 6,000 subscribers, I'm going to be talking about my favorite episode focusing on each of the main 6. Hence why I'm wearing this awesome hoodie I got for Christmas last year. Though some may be more obvious than others. For this list, I'll be going by eye color hue order. What do I mean by that? Well, let's start with the pony with the green emerald eyes, Applejack. Applejack, there weren't too many of her centric episodes that stood out to me as much. Most of the time, episodes that focus on her or the Apple family, like Apple Family Reunion or Some Pony to Watch Over Me, left a bad impression on her a bit. In my opinion anyways. But if I were to choose a favorite Apple-centric episode, it would have to be The Perfect Pair. When this episode got released early in Australia, I was more than hyped to watch it because we would finally get to see Applejack's parents. Season 7 also introduced us to Rainbow Dash's parents, but in terms of parent episodes, I feel the one with AJ's parents was executed much better than the one with Rainbow Dash's parents. Even though Applejack isn't entirely in focus as she's equally on screen as the rest of her siblings, I felt it's a good step for her as she believes pairs were bad news up until this point. As honesty is her element, having her slowly learn the truth about her parents and how they got together through very tricky circumstances is heartwarming to see. Plus, the adorable song in the episode remains one of my favorites to this day. And having her so invested in the stories from the other citizens, almost forgetting about her previous judgment of pairs. As stubborn as she might be, I like how she and her brother are able to set aside their hatred for pairs being half pair themselves. Apple Bloom, on the other hand, was already prepared to accept Grandpa into the family despite his horrible actions towards his daughter, or Apple Bloom, Big Mac, and Applejack's mother. We do find out subtly that they probably passed away, even when Crusaders of the Lost Mark also gave that indication. But overall, this is probably the only Apple-centric episode I've watched over a dozen times. And being the hopeless romantic I am, you can see why. There are many episodes starring Fluttershy that have her slowly develop and work on her fears. My favorite one would have to be Hurricane Fluttershy. In this case, it was when Fluttershy needed to develop her own self-confidence for a bigger cause. Having all of the Pegasi in Ponyville fly at a rate that would form a giant tornado of water up to Cloudstair would definitely be a huge obstacle for Fluttershy, thinking she's too weak to contribute. But what I love about this is the fact that Rainbow is being a good friend and encouraging Fluttershy to give it a try, even when Fluttershy doesn't believe in herself. In this scenario, I always feel like Rainbow Dash, always wanting to support my friends in any way possible. And I also find it really sweet how her animals also help her overcome her obstacles and fears. And when it comes to the climax, everything she's worked for finally pays off, and she's congratulated for it. We know she's not the same shy filly who had weak wings back then, and this episode, paired up with several others, becomes a branch in her confidence boost, an ongoing journey to slowly step out of her comfort zone one baby step at a time. This episode just shows the best example of this development in my opinion, and how supportive her friends are in this time of growth. My favorite episode from Pinkie Pie, we stay in season 2. The episode that gave me the most amount of laughs is Mystery on the Friendship Express. I love mysteries, especially one that's pulled off in such a comedic, fun way. You could say that there was a murder, more likely a murder of cake, and everyone tries to figure out who done it. Twilight and Pinkie's contrasting personalities bounce off each other perfectly. I would definitely see them as being MLP's equivalent of Pinkie and the Brain, with the serious versus jokey dynamic. One of my favorite bits of the episode is when all of Pinkie's ridiculous accusations become parodies of well-known media. Gustav as a parody of typical silent films with the baddie twirling his little mustache, Donut Joe as James Bond, and Matilda with typical samurai films. This episode was just overall ridiculous, and is what you'd expect from a Golden Pinky episode. It's filled to the brim with funny moments, overdramatic gasping, and overall is a silly experience. And that's pretty much the point. Of course her detective skills pay off when the other contestants' delicacies also get sabotaged. It's just a really fun episode to watch if you just want silly. Silly in a good way, of course. My favourite episode starring Rarity would have to be Saddle Row Review in Season 6. Though Season 6 was filled with some meh material, this episode definitely stood out as one of its best episodes. First of all, I love the format this episode takes. Starting from Rarity reading the review of her new boutique in Manhattan, then flashbacking to when the main six were interviewed, then flashing even further back to the events of the grand opening. It's played out almost like a reality show, and I absolutely love it. Though each of the main six gets a chance to shine one shenanigan after the next, it all connects to Rarity's boutique becoming a success and her faith in each of her friends to make it all that way. All of the trials demonstrate how hard starting a boutique, or any business in fact, can be, despite how successful it later becomes when the preparation is done. Though Canterlot Boutique in Season 5 also showed that struggle, Saddle Row Review had it done in a more fun, less torturous way. A close second Rarity episode will also be Rarity Investigates, as she shines a lot here as well with her detective skills and her noir take. But overall, Saddle Row Review is my favourite, even when all the main characters shine in this one. Stepping out of comedy and fun and more into epic, my favourite Twilight episode is the Season 4 finale, Twilight's Kingdom. Not only did it close the arc of finding the keys by facing each of their elements, but Twilight had it the hardest against a dangerous threat. Tirek.
My name is Tirek.
Part 2 especially was filled to the brim with awesome moments for this Alicorn. Most well known is the infamous epic laser battle scene with Tirek that was filled to the brim with explosions. That was when MLP went Dragon Ball Z. It was also when things went dark, such as Tirek destroying the Golden Oak Library, and to this day a lot of bronies, including myself, were still pretty shocked about this. Though Season 4 didn't have the best open two-parter, the ending two-parter definitely made up for it. Tirek is such an amazing villain who has terrifying abilities, so of course it would take more than the elements of harmony to stop him from going any further. This two-parter also solidified Twilight's purpose as a princess after a whole season of not knowing what role she would play in Equestria's ruling system. And it also begins a new arc for her with her castle growing from the ground and making us wait 11 months to see what happens next. As well as being my favourite Twilight episode, it's also one of my favourite two-part finales. I'm saving the best till last, and for this, I need to take off my hoodie. There we go. Got my Rainbow Dash shirt on. Now, this would be a surprise to absolutely no one. My favourite Rainbow Dash episode is, drumroll, 28 Pranks Later! Nah, I'm kidding, that episode sucked. Thanks for the memories! Yeah, that's what everyone was waiting for, wasn't it? Even before this episode came out, I was already excited for its premise. Not only do we get an episode entirely focused on Tank and Rainbow Dash, but also one that has some emotional weight on it. And you know how much I absolutely love feels in media. Ever since Tank did become Rainbow's pet in Season 2, she's shown her more sensitive or softer side. This episode takes it to the next level. I love all of the adorable interactions these two have, and we can tell that Tank also wants to spend winter with Rainbow Dash despite his biological urge to hibernate. My heart. This whole episode actually demonstrates the 5 stages of grief. Even when no one is dying, it shows that grief doesn't necessarily have to just be for death of a loved one. It could also be for someone who has to move away for a while, such as Tank. Denial, anger, bargain, depression, and acceptance. I can't think of anyone other than Rainbow Dash to go through these phases. Since she is the toughest of the main 6 and hardly cries, What would happen if her hard shell finally cracked open? As we'd seen in earlier seasons, Rainbow might do well with helping others in physical problems, such as when she was encouraging Fluttershy to help out with the tornado, but beneath that, she doesn't do so well with the emotional struggles. That's when the roles reverse, and Fluttershy does what is best for her to move on, leading to one of the saddest moments in the show. Overall, this episode will always be one of my favorites. It leaves plenty of room with Rainbow and Tank to interact with one another. Even the catchy song I'll Fly is surprisingly emotional in its own right. It really did not need to be. I'm only disappointed that that was the only song that Rainbow Dash gets to sing all by herself. But I'm glad that it was about spending as much time with her pet tortoise as she possibly could. If it weren't for this episode, I never would have written my 2 audio dramas, The Heart Shell and The Color Goddess. That's how much I absolutely love this episode, and how much I love this Cyan Pegasus. And those were my favorites from each of the main 6. Of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, so let me know what are your favorites focused on each of the main 6. I'm also looking forward to what adventures our new heroes of G5 will get up to. I hear the series will be on Netflix, so that should be exciting. Also, keep an eye out for the final episode of The Color Goddess, coming out on October 25th, 2021, aka the 4th anniversary of the Heart Shell finale. Again, thank you all so much for helping me reach 6,000 subscribers, and here's to many more milestones in the future. Bye! This is NewScript signing out!